Picture this: a federal courtroom in Dallas. So quiet you can hear a reporter's pen clicking. Representative Jasmine Crockett sits at the plaintiff's table, her posture rigid, eyes locked forward. Across from her, Senator J.D. Vance shifts uncomfortably in his chair, whispering frantically to his attorney. This isn't your typical political grudge match playing out on cable news. This is a $100 million lawsuit, and what's about to happen in the next few minutes will change everything. The tension in that courtroom is suffocating. Television cameras line the courthouse steps outside. Inside, every seat is packed with reporters, their fingers hovering over laptops, ready to break the story that's about to explode. Because Jasmine Crockett isn't just suing J.D. Vance for defamation. She's about to expose his private emails and group chats that prove he deliberately lied about her. And when these messages hit that projector screen, the confident smirk on Vance's face is going to disappear forever. But wait, let me back up, because to understand why this moment matters so much, you need to know how we got here. This whole thing starts months earlier at a televised town hall in Cincinnati. Vance is standing before a cheering crowd, and he accuses Crockett of abusing her platform to push dangerous rhetoric. The words seem rehearsed, sharp enough to sting, but vague enough to give him wiggle room if anyone challenges him. Within hours, the clips are everywhere on social media. Now at first, Crockett doesn't even respond. She's learned that not every insult deserves attention. But then Vance goes on a Sunday morning political talk show, and this is where things get personal. He leans back in his chair, smirks at the host, and says, "Frankly, I don't think Representative Crockett even believes half the things she says. She thrives on chaos, not truth." Can you imagine? He's not just attacking her policies anymore. He's calling her a liar on national television. And it doesn't stop there. Over the next few weeks, Vance's attacks become a recurring theme. In speeches, interviews, social media posts, he paints her as unreliable, dishonest, someone who can't be trusted. The turning point for Crockett comes in the most unexpected place. She's back home in Dallas at a community center, meeting with local constituents. This retired teacher named Gloria Martinez approaches her, holding a folded newspaper under her arm. Gloria's voice is shaking as she says, "I read what he said about you, that you don't tell the truth, that you make things up. I've known you for years, Jasmine. That's not who you are." That simple comment hits Crockett like a ton of bricks. She realizes Vance's words aren't just noise on television anymore. They're seeping into how real people who trust her, are starting to question what they know about her. That night, she meets with her legal team in a small law office near downtown Dallas. The fluorescent lights are buzzing overhead as her attorney Raymond Pierce spreads files across this long oak table. Crockett leans forward, and her voice is calm, but you can hear the steel in it. "I've had enough," she says. "This isn't about politics anymore. This is about my integrity, and I won't let him drag it through the mud." Pierce adjusts his glasses, looks her straight in the eye. "If we go down this road, Jasmine, it won't be easy." He's going to push back hard. But if we build this case right, his own words will work against him. They discuss a strategy, and here's where it gets interesting. The $100 million figure? It's not random. Pierce explains it's not just about damages to her reputation. It's about setting a standard. If we don't put weight behind this, he says, he'll treat it as a slap on the wrist. We need to make it clear defamation carries consequences. Meanwhile, Vance is at a fundraiser in Columbus, and someone asks him about the lawsuit rumors. He actually laughs. Standing at that podium in front of wealthy donors, he says, "Crockett thinks she can scare me with threats of legal action? Let her try. I'm not afraid of a courtroom." The audience laughs. They're clapping like it's all just entertainment. But behind closed doors, his aides are exchanging worried looks. They know Crockett's reputation. Once she decides to act, she rarely backs down. The next morning, boom, the lawsuit is filed at the federal courthouse. Crockett sues Vance for $100 million. It's everywhere. Some people dismiss it as political theater, but others see it for what it is, a bold strike against dishonesty. Reporters are hounding both sides for statements. Crockett stands outside the courthouse, and she keeps it simple. This isn't about politics. This is about truth. Now here's where things get really interesting. The courthouse in Dallas becomes this absolute circus. TV vans lining the streets, reporters in their perfect suits standing in the Texas heat, crowds gathering behind barricades just to catch a glimpse. When Crockett walks up those courthouse steps in her navy blue suit, cameras are going crazy. She doesn't stop for questions, just gives this brief nod to Pierce before heading inside. The legal filing itself is brutal. It accuses Vance of making knowingly false statements with intent to damage Crockett's reputation. But what really makes everyone sit up straight is the claim that Vance's words weren't just careless. They were calculated. Behind the scenes, Crockett's team is working around the clock. They're going through transcripts, comparing everything Vance said to official records and fact checks. One night in Pierce's office, this junior associate named Kimberly stops on a page covered in sticky notes. "This one," she says, pointing at a transcript. He says Crockett fabricated numbers during a hearing. We have the official record showing she cited a government report verbatim. That's not a difference of opinion. That's a lie. Vance tries to play it cool in public. At a rally in Cleveland, he mocks the lawsuit to his cheering supporters. "If telling the truth costs $100 million, he jokes, maybe I'll need to start a GoFundMe." The crowd laughs, but if you look closely at his eyes, you can see the strain. Then comes the first hearing, and this is where everything changes. The courtroom is packed, reporters filling every bench, law students whispering in the back like they're watching history unfold. When the judge enters, everyone rises and the sound of shuffling feet echoes before dead silence falls. Pierce stands up, and his voice cuts through the room like a knife. "Your Honor, this case is about accountability. Senator Vance has every right to debate policy, but he has no right to knowingly spread lies that harm Representative Crockett's reputation. We will show that his attacks were not only false but crafted with intent." The defense tries to counter, talking about free speech and political debate, but the judge shuts them down immediately. "Mr. Donnelly, this courtroom is not for sound bites. Keep your arguments within the scope of the law." And then, oh man, then Pierce drops the bomb. He walks to the evidence table, picks up this thick binder, and addresses the court. "We submitted a request for communications related to Senator Vance's public statements about my client. The court ordered these documents to be produced, and within them, we found exchanges that shed light on the senator's true intentions." He pulls out a sheet of paper, adjusts his glasses, and reads aloud. This is an email dated February 14th from Senator Vance to one of his senior aides. Quote, "If we keep pushing the line that Crockett is dishonest, it'll stick. Doesn't matter if it's airtight. What matters is repetition." The courtroom goes dead silent. A reporter's pen literally slips from her hand and clatters to the floor. Crockett stays composed, but you can see it in Pierce's eyes, that flicker of vindication. Across the aisle, Vance's face turns red. He's leaning toward his attorney, whispering urgently. The judge asks if the document is authenticated, and Pierce confirms it was produced by Vance's own team under court order. But wait, it gets worse. Pierce reads more excerpts. Mentions of smearing her credibility, of pushing a narrative whether or not it's factual, of using media appearances to make her look unstable. Each line is more damaging than the last. Reporters are gasping, whispering. Fingers fly across keyboards. One reporter mouths, "Wow," to another. Through all of this, Crockett sits perfectly still. Her expression is measured, but this is her moment. For once, the courtroom isn't controlled by spin. It's controlled by facts. Vance, on the other hand, is falling apart. His fingers are drumming on the table, his confidence evaporating with every word Pierce reads. Then comes the group chats, and this is where things get absolutely devastating. Pierce pulls up screenshots on the projector. March 8th, 10:42 p.m. The chat name glows on the screen. Messaging Strategy Core Team. Pierce reads Vance's message. "Crockett's too careful with her facts. If we can't catch her in a lie, then we create the impression she bends the truth. Hit it over and over until people doubt her." The room explodes in gasps and exclamations. A law student covers her face, whispering to her friend, "He actually typed that out?" Even the judge glances up from her notes, her eyes lingering on the text. Another message appears. A staff member asks what if fact-checkers call them out, and Vance replies, fact-checkers are irrelevant. By the time they catch up, the damage will be done. Then another, she's articulate, which makes her dangerous. We have to make her look reckless. And another, stick to the narrative. Repeat it until people stop questioning it. The defense tries to object, calling these informal chats, casual exchanges. But the judge shuts them down. Your client authored these messages. The court will allow them. The gavel cracks, and Vance finally breaks his silence, hissing to his attorney loud enough for people to hear. They're going to crucify me with this. Pierce closes his presentation with devastating simplicity. Your Honor, these are not slips. They are not casual remarks. They are deliberate strategies crafted by a sitting senator, designed to smear my client's reputation with falsehoods he knew were untrue. The evidence is his own words. The courtroom sits in stunned silence. Even the reporters, usually quick with questions, seem frozen. Then the flurry begins. Pens scratching, keyboards clicking, whispers racing across the benches like sparks on a fuse. Outside, the news spreads instantly. Headlines flash across phones. Vance's group chat revealed strategy to smear Crockett. Crowds erupt in noise, supporters cheering, opponents shouting. Inside, Crockett leans toward Pierce and says quietly, they can't spin this anymore. Pierce replies simply, exactly, he's undone himself. That night, the story dominates every news channel. Screenshots of the messages flash across screens nationwide. People in diners, gas stations, living rooms across America are watching, reading those words. Doesn't have to be true. Fact-checkers are irrelevant. Goal is perception. A waitress in Oklahoma City sets down pancakes, glances at the TV, and shakes her head. They've been calling that woman a liar for months, and now look, he admitted it himself. Two men argue at a gas station in Little Rock, one insisting every politician strategizes, the other pointing at the news ticker. Strategizing isn't the same as lying on purpose. There's a difference, and you know it. For Crockett, the public response is deeply personal. She returns home to find dozens of letters and flowers at her doorstep. One note in shaky handwriting reads, "Thank you for standing up for truth. We need more of that in this country." A high school student from Tucson writes, "Seeing you fight gives me hope that honesty still matters." The next morning, Crockett stands at the courthouse steps and delivers a speech that will be remembered for years. Her voice is calm, measured, but powerful. This case is not about me versus Senator Vance. This case is about truth versus lies. If public service loses its connection to truth, then the people lose faith in a system that's supposed to represent them. Meanwhile, Vance slinks out a side exit to avoid the press. His aides shield him from cameras, hustling him into an SUV. But the damage is done. His own words, projected larger than life, seen by millions. No carefully crafted statement can erase what everyone now knows. Letters pour into Crockett's office from across the country. A veteran in San Antonio writes, "I never thought I'd pay attention to congressional disputes, but seeing you fight made me believe integrity still matters." A teacher in Nebraska says, "My students asked why politicians lie. I told them sometimes the truth wins. Thank you for proving me right." In a quiet interview a week later, Crockett is asked what this lawsuit means to her personally. She leans forward, her expression thoughtful. It means that lies have a cost. When we stop holding people accountable for them, we allow those lies to shape our world. I don't want my community, my family, or the next generation to inherit a world where the truth is optional. That's why I did this. And that's why I'll keep fighting. This story shows us something crucial. The fight for truth is never just one person's battle. It belongs to all of us. When someone has the courage to stand up against deliberate deception, even when it's hard, even when it costs them, they remind us all what integrity looks like. Jasmine Crockett didn't just win a lawsuit. She proved that in a world full of spin and lies, the truth, when it finally comes to light, still has the power to change everything. So ask yourself, when you see lies being spread, when you watch people's reputations being destroyed by deliberate deception, will you stay silent? Or will you remember this moment when one woman said enough is enough and proved that accountability is still possible. Because if there's one lesson here, it's that the truth matters. And sometimes all it takes is one person with courage to remind the whole world of that fact.